headset on and listen to the pilot and all that type of stuff. So you'll probably like that.
My next door neighbor, he's got to be.
Hello. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today's board meeting. Today is February 28th, 2023. At this time, I'd like to get this meeting called to order. Beverly.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, CAT Board of Directors. Director Emerson. Director Odell.
Here.
Director Stone. Director Lockett.
Here.
Director Adams.
Here.
Director Robinson.
Present.
Director Leggett. Director Leggett. Director Taylor.
Here.
And Chairman Cody.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum of today's meeting.
Thank you. All right, now we'd like to get approval of the agenda for the day. Beverly, can you do the roll call?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll do a roll call vote. Director Emerson not present for the vote. Director Odell.
Yes.
Director Stone. Yes. Director Lockett.
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Robinson.
Yes.
Director Leggett not present for the vote. Director Taylor.
Yes.
Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Chairman, motion passed for the approval of today's agenda.
All right, thank you. Now we'll be moving on to our consent action items of the day. We want to get approval on this. Take a vote. Thank you. Beverly.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Director Emerson not present for the vote. Director Odell.
Yes.
Director Stone.
Yes.
Director Lockett.
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Robinson.
Yes.
Director Leggett. Not present for the vote. Director Taylor.
Yes.
And Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Chairman, motion passed to approve consent items 1 through 9.
All right, thank you.
Chairman, I'd like
Yes.
to just make, I think within our packet, we have the attachments, but we don't have the actual agenda.
Do we have any more copies of the agenda?
We do.
I need one also.
We have the attachment, we just don't have the agenda.
Yeah.
I guess.
The agenda will help.
We got a lot, we have a lot of paper, but we didn't.
We didn't have the main one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you taking time at our governance meeting to go through all these and carry out any questions prior to today's meeting.
Thank you. You ready? No problem. All right.
Not sure.
All right. Looks like we don't have any individual action items. Before we go into Executive Director's report, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Black History Month. And I'd like to thank all CAT employees, staff, our stakeholders, and our CEO and all board members for living the dream, working together to accomplish all that we have through the pandemic, driving staff shortages. We had a CEO that worked with staff as well as answering any questions that the board members had. When we show all of our diversities and our ethnic groups from what we have going on in the world, we prove to the world that all transit, as with all the transporting we do as Martin Luther King said, we want to go to the promised land. But he also knew that we can only get to the promised land together. I believe we would be the best transit agency at our capacity in the world. No one can assassinate the truth. It always ends in unity for the people. This time I'd like to go into our executive director's report with our CEO, Ms. Faye DeMassimo.
Those were powerful words, Chairman. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
It's a pleasure to be with you all today and a pleasure to have the public that has joined us virtually. I'm going to have a brief executive director's report and call your attention to a few things that are not necessarily on the agenda, but were in your snapshot that I think are important. I hope you were pleased with where we are in the Greyhound lease development. They have agreed to all of the terms. You know, we're going from what was the historical from a decade ago, $11 a square foot to $43 a square foot. With a slightly different footprint than what they've had in the past. You all are aware Greyhound was purchased by a German company and they're changing their business model a bit. So they're going to be using less of the building and one less bay outside there. And so it's also giving us a chance to really reimagine the ITC. And we are looking at how we're going to reactivate that space, including our call center group moving to that area, which will be a really good location, and they're excited about it as well. So we've got a lot of good activity, and how we may reinvigorate the board facilities and so forth in that building as well. So be looking forward to some good change there. But I want to just call your attention to that, because I think that this renegotiation of the Greyhound lease is a great success for us, both as a business matter, as an opportunity matter, and certainly from the financial perspective.
So we're leasing less space and getting more money.
You bet. You can't beat that, right? I also wanted to, one of the things that you've heard me say in several of the meetings is that one of our areas that's a real focus area for improvement internally in our business operations for us is project management. I want to thank all of the chiefs and Ms. Dumas as Chief of Staff and Board Administrator for the work that has been done in developing a project management plan and a project management process. So not only will we follow common practice and best management practice in that regard, but anybody who's working for us, contractors, consultants, and so forth, it'll be a common platform for how we manage projects successfully to completion, on budget, on schedule. And those are essential tools to have. And so you'll be seeing that coming forward. And I wanted to brag a little bit about all the fine work that the team has done to bring that to fruition. The website redesign you'll be hearing a little bit about. Ms. Cutter interviewed this past week 4 finalists for the HR manager position, and there's 4 individuals, and now we're bringing forward 2 finalists. So that very key and important position will be filled soon. You saw some of the other key hires that we put in snapshot this week, and one I told Director Taylor I knew he was especially, I could hear him saying yay even as I was hitting send on the snapshot. Alexander Gill joined us as the marine mechanic. We've certainly talked a lot about the need for preventive maintenance and marine mechanic, and making sure that this new equipment that we're bringing on board and the efforts that we're making now to keep the vessels going until we take delivery of those, how important that is. He's an 11-year Army veteran, and his expertise is in preventive maintenance. So again, that was another one that we were really glad to call out. And I also mentioned Ambria Berksteiner. She will be starting with us later in March. What an impressive young talent. Holds degrees in math and industrial engineering from Spelman and Auburn University, and is a 5th generation Savanian. Just exactly again, a remarkable young talent, and exactly the kind of, folk that we want to be attracting to CAT. They want to commit to the community. They want to bring their best expertise, and they want to help us take ourselves to that world-class transit system that the chairman just spoke of. Also wanted to mention, you've got focus groups coming up on March the 8th and 9th. Beverly has been working with you to secure times with you for that. Those are going to be really important parts of the in-depth sort of nuts and bolts conversation we're going to be having with each of you, soliciting your input and opinions around the master transit plan. And of course, in the March meeting, we'll be going over that broadly at the actual regular board meeting in detail, both for the development of the comprehensive operational analysis and the master transit plan. And we're also spending a lot of time right now still on triennial review prep. We're making sure that we're ready for that. So with that said, that's really the executive director's report, and we can move on to service delivery. Yes. 8th and 9th.
Some of the commissioners will be in Atlanta for legislative breakfast.
Mhm.
I will actually be in DC on behalf of Curtis Cooper.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, I can't speak for my colleagues here, but,
Beverly, have you worked that out with them already?
but I know that a couple of the board members are going to the legislative breakfast, so we'll be out of pocket.
Okay. Beverly, have you worked that out with them yet? Okay. Well, we will make sure. Thank you so much for calling that to our attention, and we'll work that out. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, they all will be virtual, so you don't, but
Traveling,
that's still difficult. Absolutely. Well, we'll work out a time that is mutually agreeable for everyone. So, but thank you for sharing that. And with that, are there any other questions for me? All right, and we're also very busy with the legislative session. Every day is a more activity. So I know folks have asked me how are we doing during the session, and I said, well, you'll know on March 29th when they gavel out. So that's when you really know what has happened. So keep your focus on that. I know every week when we send you snapshot, we're also sending you the update that, but we are working with Mr. Vacker and on a daily basis. So keep making sure that we're keeping our best foot forward in securing the resources that we know CAT needs in order to be successful. All right, and with that said, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you for the service delivery update.
All right, next we have service delivery update with Margaret Martha.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Ms. Faye. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board of Directors, and good morning to the public that is watching us today. I am very happy to inform our patrons and shareholders that the direction that CAT is going, we will be successful. I am very optimistic that with all minds together and with the direction of our leadership, we will get it right, and very soon. And the public will know about how good we are on time with good vehicles, all clean up, customer service, drivers smiling and picking people up. We'll get there. All right, so today I will make it brief and short. First slide is about the fixed route on time performance. As you can see, our target is 70%. The month of January is a little higher than December. That means drivers are getting it. We're counseling. What I'm doing here now is that I bring drivers to my office and I let them know that, it's not only just ride up or shouting at each other, but to let them know that our goal is to provide a reliable safety service to the public. And I always quote Director Sharon says that if the service is not reliable, people will find alternative transportation. So on-time performance is the key. And we have system in place, what we're gonna do to enhance our on-time performance. And I will leave that to my department update when I get to that to explain what we have in place to boost on-time performance. So the good news is that we were a little bit higher than last month, but we're short to our target of 70%. Next slide. Okay, now on the ridership side, our target was, I would say, if I run it up, 125K. The month of January was compared to December, we're a little short, and but we were more higher than our target. So our target is 125K. This is just running it up. We were 127. So ridership is coming up. The demand is there, and eventually this is going to go up when we have our fleet and our manpower all taken care of. So that's a good news. A little short than December, but higher than our target. On the paratransit side, as you can see, 5 folks here all exceeded the 93% target. But overall, we were 91%. We were still short to our 93%, but very close. But if you can see all these drivers, I'm not going to call them all their names, but for time purposes, they all exceeded the 93% target. So eventually, like I said, we have new paratransit electric vehicles coming in, and some of the drivers are complaining about the fleet breakdown and they can't get on to their target point on time. All this is going to go away when we have new vehicles and very reliable to get to the point. Yes, ma'am. My goal is if we have full staff, we might not need them because, you know, that's cost savings. And we're relying on outside entity, and we can't count on them too much. But right now we don't have a choice because we're short-handed. But my goal is that when we have full staff, eventually we might get rid of that temporary contract.
Because I was looking at the back of your report, and they had 108 scheduled trips, and the actual trips was 93. Now, to me, that seemed like a low number. So I was just hoping at some point we could actually transition away from having to use them at all.
When I did reach out to them on that number, because we were almost 100 short for what was booked, and they all saying the same thing that everybody's saying: manpower, people not coming to work. So my whole goal is that I believe in house where we have control. The paratransit side, the good news is that we're very good on that because we don't need CDL. So on a weekly job fair, folks come in, and right now we're about 10 or 12 short to our target. So I would say maybe one more class, we can have full staff for paratransit. And the more we have, the much better that our service quality and on-time performance will all come together.
Dr. Tomasi, I have a question. On the top 6 performers, are these over various routes? Like, how many different routes will those high percentages be?
Yeah, as you can see with their names, so these are all in general. They all have different assignment every day, but they are only graded on how often they get there on time. So this is for a month of January. This is a spread. So if let's say Nicole Lloyd, from that month, all assignment that he's given is always there on time. All right. So this is how they are all graded. And the high performance is 97. Maybe me and Ms. Phil will talk later and see any reward system for them, because that will motivate others to also follow. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Now on the ridership side, still paratransit. On the ridership side, as you can see, when we're close to our target, but not quite. But The good news is that it was higher than December. Like I said, the demand is there. If we can get these two things together, our vehicles and our full staff, paratransit will have a very, very good place. It's much easier maintain and manage than fixed route. Like I said, getting people to come in is the most easiest on the paratransit side. You don't need a CDL. And with our vehicles, all our vehicles on the paratransit are over useful life. Yes, Director Stone, you have a question? No, if I hear the question right, what I'm saying is that the fixed route part is with the CDL, and hiring the CDL drivers is very difficult. Unlike the paratransit, you don't need a CDL. So anybody with a CDL, anybody with a driver's license can come in and get trained and help us out. Yeah. This is just ridership. Yes. So this very page is ridership, and it's about paratransit ridership.
Okay, but again, I guess my question is, we were at one point really trying to get as many paratransit riders as humanly possible to fixed routes because of the greater cost of paratransit. So I'm looking at this and I'm hearing you say you want to increase paratransit. So I'm trying to understand what I missed.
I don't know, Director Stone, as we sit today, I don't know that I would say we're encouraging or discouraging. What we're trying to do right now is to meet the needs as they present themselves. And you're right that when we can accommodate one of those trips or encourage those trips to take advantage of a fixed route service that is available and can provide what they need, then we absolutely do that. I think one of the things that you're going to see as the master transit plan recommendations are coming out, and we are more system driven and a little less of the traditional sort of fixed route with corresponding paratransit service, which has been traditional for many transit systems in the country. It's been part of the federal requirements and so forth. And we're in that transformation moment, in large part driven by sort of the post-COVID environment, operator shortages, the development and emergence of microtransit as a solution. And I think you're going to see a package of solutions presented as a part of the master transit plan that takes into account fixed para/microtransit, and then other types of, whether that's express or whatever, that's put together in a way that can efficiently and effectively, which is what I know our aim is let's get as many people that need transit and want transit to be able to have access to it with the right product that provides it most efficiently, most effectively. And I think you're going to see more of that in our master transit plan.
And also to clarify that, for what you were saying is true. Most institutions across America, we encourage people on paratransit that are eligible to ride fixed route to go to fixed route. Where I came from, we even have a training, and we have the same system here, where we train riders on paratransit that are eligible to use fixed route. So the more people that can leave paratransit to go to fixed route, the much better it is. Yeah. But my question was that employment, getting the manpower is much easier. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, the ridership is higher because, like you see, if you compare that to last month, it's quite high than December. So yeah, that means we're doing good. That's the point. All right. Yeah. Next slide, please. Now, this is, you might all see 000 and ask why. Why is the month of November, December, and January, why is this zero? Why aren't people using online services to book paratransit rides? And I talked to the communication department. It was an technical issue. It's an IT problem, which is solved now. So the month of next report, you're gonna see all those numbers very high. Yeah, I really encourage that, and I think we should campaign to the public and encourage them to use online. It frees there's people calling the call center with all high call volume. If they can go online and book a ride. So it's a technology that we have it. It's now upgraded. It's much better. So encourage the public to, if they can go online and book a paratransit ride. It's much convenient. It's easy, and that will also help us to reduce the number of calls that comes to our call center. Yes, yeah. So people get online, and it was a lot of problems because you might book a ride online, come to find out it's not even recorded. So people didn't know, and that's why they keep calling in. Hey, I went online, book a ride. Nobody even called me. Nobody showed up. But that is fixed now. Yes, yes. So I'll be give you an update on the next report about how people are using it online. And I encourage the public listening to us today to please go online and book a ride. It's much easier. It frees us up from all the call volume that goes to our call center. So that's the purpose of it. If people can, just like buying an airline ticket, go online, it's the same features and it's working now. So please do that for us. All right, now we on the marine services. The month of January, we exceeded our target ridership for the marine. We ran on 2 ferries, and this is good news. If we can keep this trend up, which I think we will, the demand is there, and this is not even factoring in any bars bridge. When we do a bars bridge, ridership count is not on this data. This is purely people riding our ferries for the month of January. So that's a very high number. Anytime you can exceed a target, it's a good thing. So this was a very good one.
Dr. Maney, I wanted to mention while you're on that slide too, that for the board to know that we are already in the planning stages for how our transit services, including marine services, but how our transit services are going to serve both the ACCG and GMA conferences. Those are always big conferences with a lot of demand, usually a lot of demand around the ferries. Last year, we stumbled, I think, a little bit in making sure we got that done reliably and effectively. This year, we're making sure lots of pre-planning in place and the bus bridge activated permanently during that period of time to make sure it's available. And so we're going to make sure that both of those events are met successfully.
And Ms. Faye is right. I was on a call with the leadership team. They expect about 200 plus to come in town in April. So we got all our stuff, strategy together, and I think we can fulfill that need. Yeah. The maintenance, and Dr. Robinson made me a good professor to educate you all on what this means. The mean distance between vehicle failures means how far can you go before your vehicles break down. The higher the number, the better. As you can see, our target is 1,200. The national average, according to FTA, is 14K. But even all our old beat-up buses, we're still doing good. The month of November was a little lower compared to December, but that's almost about 17,000 miles before our vehicles get swapped or replaced. So the shop maintenance team, kudos to them. They're doing a wonderful job. The call center, back to what I've been saying. Now, we have set a goal. Our KPI on that is if anybody call the call center, 1 minute, 60 seconds is the most the person have to be on the phone. Now, the month of January was 101. That means it's over our target of 60 seconds. And this is partly because of the cat tracker, bus coming in late, unscheduled paratransit, rights. If all this is not working, guess what? They're all gonna call in the call center. I've been saying this and I emphasize greatly on it, that online booking and all this stuff is good, because if people are standing at the bus stop and the bus don't show up, they have a tracker and the tracker is saying the bus is gonna be there 2 minutes, and 2 minutes past 10 minutes, no bus show up. Guess what they're gonna do? They will call the call center. So these are all the stuff in place that if everything is working, the volume of calls coming to the call center will reduce, and therefore people will not be on hold longer than 60 seconds. So our tracker, the cat tracker, is also fixed. There was a few buses that were not connecting with our web base and our credit points. Right now they're all working. The 4 buses that mostly were on the 14, which is one of our highest ridership route, and that's where the complaint were coming from. So if we get all this stuff fixed, the volume of calls coming to the call center will reduce. The less calls coming, the much effective, efficient we can serve our customers. And Ms. Faye did something that is great on our messaging. We also had a message now that you're on hold. In the past, you're on hold and nobody talks to you. Now there's a mechanism that will tell you you're on hold for this amount of time and for this reason. So this makes the public aware. Just like everywhere you call, you are nursing call, or this call is going to be about 10, 15 minutes. We have that now. So the public is also happy. Any means of communication is good to the public. People are stranded at bus stops and the bus don't show up. Of course, frustration, and they call and the language is always different because they're frustrated. So we're doing everything of our ability on the cat tracker. If that is working and if it's effective, and I'm looking at my phone and it's telling me 1 minute the bus is going to be there and the bus shows up, why would I call the call center? You know, so this is all the stuff that we're working strongly on. Public transit is just not the bus traveling. It's a lot of mechanisms all put in place to make it effective. So we'll get this right, and next month I'll be happy to report much better wait time and the volume of calls coming in.
I look at this compared to 2022, these numbers look terrible for 2023. Yeah, they look like they tripled. So in 2022, did we have the cat tracker at that time?
I wasn't here, but I will say I can get back to you on that to see what was 2022 again in October. So if anybody here can, but I will make sure I find that data and share that with you.
Because again, if the numbers we're seeing now has more to do with the cat tracker, then I'm saying maybe that's not an effective tool. Something, because these numbers, like some cases, tripled.
Dr. Robinson, let me I know the comms team has worked with the cat tracker. So Ariel, you want to talk about that a little bit?
So the cat tracker is launched in September of last year.
Right.
And then it's been kind of updating, the servicing in October, and then the servicing update on the cat tracker for time as well.
So it's not actually the cat tracker itself. It's about how we're managing the cat
I
tracker.
think that has a lot to do with it.
There was a bit of confusion too, and Ariel, you can correct me, but I think this is right. There was a bit of confusion too when people were downloading the app. They were getting the old app and didn't recognize that they needed to be downloading the new app, and then it wasn't working, and that was creating issues. And so we really had to do a real push from the comm side to make sure that folk understood that when they went to the app store, you needed to be sure you were selecting the correct app. And so we had to work with, it was Google and who else? Google and Apple to actually take the old app down. It seems like that should be an easy thing, and it was not. So, but it's down now, and with the cat tracker in place, we've actually been getting really positive feedback from folks on the cat tracker app now. But I think you're correct that I think those numbers show some, growing pains, if you will.
Well, December wasn't that bad, but.
Yeah.
All right. Next slide. Incoming calls. So this is the volume of calls that comes in, and if you can see it, January, the volume of calls that came in is higher than the month of December. Again, it ties up to what I've been saying, that if buses are late and if customers are not that certified or can't have any means of communication, they will call the call center. These are all issues related to how are we on time, how our buses showing up, and if they don't, a customer will call the call center. If we do all this right, the volume of calls coming to the call center will reduce tremendously. And so I encourage that the public should be patient. We're working very hard to get all our car tracker running. We get all our Wi-Fi, cellular connections with the buses. It's all been upgraded. And then if this is all in place, customers are certified, they will not call the call center. So you can tell from the volume, the more calls come in, that means, yes, Director.
Yes, Dr. Manny. What exactly do these percentages mean for these top advocates?
That means they take more calls. So if, and I was talking to Claudette a minute ago. So if I'm on call, I'm able to certify you first, take another call. That means I'm more efficient and effective. So that's why they have 99 point something percent of the calls. So the more calls you can take on a timely basis, that's how you can score high.
One other question. Is the call center fully staffed? Or
Well, I would say we're still short a little bit, but Ms. Faye and Ms. Carter and myself, we're trying to find alternative means to have part-time staff to come in and help us out. What I'm trying to do now, and with Ms. Faye's blessing, I want the call center hours to be the same as operation hours, so that it's not right for people to call in after 6 and the buses are running to 10 p.m. and there's no call center. So all that is in place, and we're gonna have temps to fill in those so we can have the same hours with operations hours. So yeah, we're still understaffed here, but we're working on it. Okay, you're welcome. Any questions? Okay. Okay. Let me wrap it up here. So last week I did talk a little bit about our division update, and I'm not gonna waste time on here for time's sake. So we did a training, customer service training, public transit system. Part of it that is so necessary is customer service. And I've been saying this: if you go to England, the only thing you come back and say is that the service is so better, excellent. How people talk to you, how people smile, how helpful the drivers are. These are okay. So we did. Ms. Faye had a program related to how Disney is one of the number one. We tailor-made their program, but we customized it to cut operations. And the feedback that I got from all the drivers, supervisors, everybody that attended the training was very good. And in the future, we're gonna look for outside source with experts to come in, because customer service is a key. And so this one went very well. Though it was in-house, Ms. Val was the instructor and did a very good job. But we'll be looking at outside expertise to come in and also train us all, including me, everybody, how to deal with customers. And I quite agree with you. Customer service is a key. The second point is the management union. So in the past, they just have safety meeting. I changed that direction. Rather than the committee will meet and discuss about any safety issues. If we find one, then we will do a mandatory training. So our last meeting, we found out that the wheelchairs were not properly secured. And also we have a safety issue where there's a panic, anything that is, we call the COVID switch. Most of the drivers don't even remember where that is. So our next training, we're gonna train them all to know in case of any emergency, what to do to communicate with us without anybody even knowing it, and how to secure wheelchairs. So that is coming up, I think next month, or March, yeah. We're still in February, right? Yeah, next month. The operations division, I have a proposal that I've want to structure the whole department, and Ms. Faye, anytime I get to this, I feel bad because Ms. Faye won my proposal ASAP. And I hope next time I'll be proud to tell you what implementations of that proposal has been in place. It's a good proposal because we're gonna have a bus communication center, just like the airport have, and we'll have means to communicate with our drivers and have them leave on time. We can talk to them without anybody even hearing it. So when the proposal is ready, I will send it to Ms. Faye, and she may share it with you, board members. Georgia Power, the next one on my item. We are very happy that Georgia Power is working with us. They are ahead of time. I just don't want the electric vehicles to get here, and now we're gonna think about, oh, how do we put all this stuff in place? I want all the infrastructure to be ready, so when the buses come, day one, they'll be back to revenue line. So Georgia Power came in and decided where they're gonna put all the charging system for our electric vehicles. So they are ahead of the game, which is good. The next one is the video surveillance on our buses. We did talk to our insurance companies. They provided us 2 vendors that I have already talked to them. And we also have TSI. So we're gonna have 3 different systems on our buses. And we get to choose which one is best for CAT. And we're all gonna have access to monitor all these 3 vendors to see who has the best quality cameras on our fleet.
I want to be sure and mention on that, just for, because this is a public discussion, that anything that's infrastructure like that, we can do pilots and so forth and try things out. When it comes time to procurement, we will follow a proper procurement in terms of selecting that that vendor and that product. So just wanted to be sure that that was clear from the comments.
Thank you, Ms. Faye. Yeah, we're gonna go through procurement.
Yes, sir. Will they just be on fixed route buses, or will they also be on paratransit?
Good question. So the last vendor I talked to, that's from our insurance company, they recommend they will extend it to paratransit. The other 2 is only fixed route, but this vendor, that's my last vendor that I talked to, they want to provide 2 more vehicles on paratransit because they have a different system that works well with paratransit. So yes, we're gonna have 2 paratransit pilot video surveillance on our vehicles. Yeah. Any questions? Okay, it looks like I'm taking too much time. And the last thing is that the drug and alcohol tests that we did, the audit came out right. Audit is good in a way that it helps you to do what you didn't do. And I have learned a lot from this audit, and we have had so many stuff that we weren't doing. We have got it right. So that was a good news also. And with that, if no any other questions, I will end my presentation. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Great presentation. Next, we will have on planning and infrastructure development update, our CEO, Mr. Michael.
Very good.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes.
Before we move forward, I would like to commend everybody in this room, speaking as a client, Chad. I've been here about 6 months now, and order to put the pieces together, I see it from a client standpoint and a director's standpoint. And the improvement is just through the roof from last July up until now. And so the numbers don't tell the real story of the people that are out there doing the job. The effort is there. You'll never have perfection, but as long as you have people who are caring with effort, we'll be fine. The other day I was visiting my mom and a paratransit vehicle rolled up, dropped someone off. There was a lady in a rollator sitting there waiting, but that wasn't her vehicle. In the past, that vehicle would have just pulled off. Driver got on the radio and asked how long it would be before her bus came. It's not that the bus showed up, it's the fact that he cared enough to tell her when the bus was showing up. It's little things like that that clients remember. And so it's just amazing what 6 months have done. I want to commend again Mr. Massimo and our staff and the directors and the managers and again the board members, because what we do here, I can actually see in it making a difference out there. And not just with me, because I evaluate other passengers, because most of the drivers know I sit on the board. So while I'm out, I evaluate other passengers, not just my ride. And this is what I see. I mean, from fixed route, every now and then I'll just stand at the bus stop and just see. And it's totally, you know, if you do a 360, that means you're going in the same direction that you were going in. But if you do a 180, you're going in the opposite way of you were going. And I'm telling you, it's just a breath of fresh air to see people with disabilities and people that have to catch the fixed route just are satisfied. And so I want to thank everybody here, and you can tell everybody that works for you that Director Taylor said thank you for all the clients.
Thank you for that, Director Taylor. It's great to get that information from someone on the inside. For sure, riding transit every day definitely makes me feel good to know how much of improvement we are making towards satisfying the people.
And one more thing, I have to commend Ms. Cutter, because every vehicle has all the equipment that they need in order for everybody to be safe, everything. And so you can't do that without money. You can't do that without a budget. You know, all the seat belts work, all the clamps work. And like I said, the skill level will come as long as you care. The skill level will follow the caring. They got the right training. As long as they care, Chatham Area Transit will be fine. But it starts right here. And so, again, thank y'all.
I want to particularly say thank you. You all are all, as a board, always so deeply committed and generous with your observations and your praise. And you have no idea how much it means to all the folks that are listening, that are not in this room with you, that don't get the chance. They're out there driving the buses and driving the paratransit vehicles and operating the ferries and maintaining the equipment that we have. They're doing all that hard work. And so I appreciate the fact that you take the time here to very publicly do that. We've been trying to do more of that. There was a kudos that came in for one of our DOT shuttle operators, and it came in on the info line. And when the info line is one that when it comes in, the comms team sees it, I see it, usually the operations team will see it. Well, this operator was getting a kudo. We get complaints there too, but we got a kudo, and it was for a particular operator. So I forwarded it on over to Dr. Manny and to Mr. Dumas and said, please make sure that this operator sees this kudo, and please make sure that they know deepest thanks from the CEO. Well, so instead of just doing that, the operations team made up a flyer with the kudo that she got, and they distributed it to everybody. So now everybody wants to get a flyer, I think.
And-
So it's that kind of recognition of appreciation and service and gratitude for this team that starts with you all and includes every single one of us
One of the group
is important.
that I want to commend is that call center. The volume of calls that I can't even imagine that come through there in those schedulers. And not only now, but we have all the drivers and everybody, but when I first started, they didn't have as many drivers. And it was still, no, everybody didn't get picked up on time, but the effort was there. And so from the time you call in until the time you get scheduled, to the time you get on and get off the bus, it's just a wonderful experience.
Very good, thank you. Can you bring up the planning presentation for me? I'm gonna go through this. I know that this is something that we've already covered in the in-depth committee meetings earlier, but I want to go through this at least briefly. So first, next slide. We are still working on those fall service temporary modifications and how we are continuing to work toward route restoration that is appropriate. You will be, obviously, March is going to be the month for discussion of the transit plan and the comprehensive operational analysis. I believe the board is going to be very pleased, and the community is going to be pleased with the direction that CAT is heading in the vision for the future and our aims and our goals for serving everyone in the community. Next slide. First mile, last mile, we talked about this a little bit earlier too. I know that that Director Stone and other directors have had this as a real key area of emphasis. We noted that there was a previous initiative that really had not fully gone through a procurement process and so forth. So we're looking at routes 20 and 11 and the use of our areas of persistent poverty and route restoration grants to be able to bring forward a pilot of first mile, last mile. It would be completed under our existing service mod, so we wouldn't have to accomplish it through a separate a regulatory initiative, and then it would be done in collaboration with our master plan and all those other efforts. So we are excited to continue to bring you monthly updates about that as we move that forward. Next slide. This was the maps that we were just showing to mention. Those are just simply showing the locations of Garden City and Port Wentworth within Chatham County, but it was to bring up the fact that we are getting very close. We should be having a ribbon cutting on the Garden City service expansion very soon, and then we should be presenting hopefully around April to the Port Wentworth City Council on what a service expansion there can look like as well. And what an exciting thing to talk about for any transit system in the country, to be talking about service expansion right now, especially with partners like Garden City and Port Wentworth that are willing to be not only a partner in the service, but a financial partner in the service. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I was involved with a community meeting in Garden City the other day. And they want to know what's the dates for this plan, Garden City, to be implemented.
We are waiting on, as a matter of fact, Mr. Flanders came to the door right before the meeting started. We're waiting on the right-of-way permitting approval from GDOT. We should get it any day, and as soon as we do, we'll be getting the shelters out there, and the service will begin to run. We want to do a ribbon cutting around it where Garden City, as well as you all, can be involved in. What a great announcement. So very, very soon. I wish I could give you an exact date, but I would say within the next 60, 90 days at max.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then on the competitive discretionary grant status and earmarks, of course, ferries 1 and 2 are fully funded. Ferry 3, we have the T-HUD earmark. That's also the ferry that we are seeking support through the state legislature for the match funds needed for that. The FY 2018 dock and ferry maintenance facility are making great progress now, and we expect to come off of that unobligated balances list that we've been on very soon. The paratransit maintenance facility T-HUD earmark, we are coordinating with the city of Savannah on a site location for that. And we are considering what are the best opportunities we have for the application replaced than the final ferry that requires replacement. We're probably going to look at an earmark for that because those applications are easier. We've just got to figure out the funding strategy in particular for that, because we're trying to be very conservative and smart about all of our funding right now, as you know. And then we should be hearing in the next couple of months at the latest on the SMART grant application. You'll recall that was a 100% grant funding application, and that is around smart technology and the use of microtransit zones to pilot that service. And that was a project that was done in collaboration with both Savannah State and Georgia Tech. Next slide. And one thing I want to add to the end of this report that I neglected when I was in the executive director's report is a brief report from comms, and I think we're going to give you a brief update on St. Patrick's Day.
Today, we're just going to focus on our communication strategies for St. Patrick's Day. So one of the big things that we learned from in the committee meetings was that we were going to be charging a $5 fee for the Port Wentworth shuttle. And to eliminate wristbands and any of those transactions, we're going to implement our token transit app, which we already use for passes, to be used on St. Patrick's Day. So what the user would do is they'll download the token transit app, and then they'll just choose St. Patrick's Day Unlimited, and it'll look like this on their screen, and they just show that to the operator. Of course, they pay for the ticket, and they just show that to the operator, and then they're done. So it won't be no type of human contact of any of that kind. We thought this was a safer way, and it's something we already use and can implement, and so we're excited to try this out on St. Patrick's Day. In the past would be a 24-hour pass for them to come, get on the bus to go downtown, and then get back on the bus to get to Port Wentworth again. Another thing that our comms team is working on is a 2023 rider guide, and that will be system-wide for fixed route, paratransit, Savannah Bells Ferry, Savannah shuttles, Port Wentworth shuttles, a guide to how to use token transit, things to know such as, when the parade starts and any like road closures, and then some of the popular events that's happening. We thought this would be a good idea so it could help the call center with less calls if everything is in one area. We're also going to be a part of the City of Savannah's press conference, March 15th, about parking and transportation, where we also will have another opportunity to let the people know CAT's plans and answer any media questions as well.
One thing to mention there as well, this goes to the question that you asked us, Dr. Robinson, about how we were making sure that we were addressing those folks who might not be doing St. Patrick's Day stuff, but who need CAT services and would be impacted for the period of time of this event. And so we wanted to have a very robust communications initiative so that people can plan. If people know something's going to impact what would be their normal in the course of a day, then they can go ahead and plan around that. So this is part of the effort to answer the question that you had asked us during committees.
Thank you all.
Next, we have our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Cutter.
That was not addressed during governance. If not, as we talked about previously, we were going to notice if you're looking at the graph, the revenue and expense line come closer together as a result of the implementation of the outcome of union negotiation. So that's what it looks like. If you look further, you will see that gap, the yellow, the gold, and the blue line. That tells us we have monies there, savings, to cover us through the end of the year. Next slide, please. Okay, revenue by category. Our largest, of course, is the special district tax that comes from our taxpayers, and also paratransit, which is 100% funded by Chatham County. One thing I want to remind the board, we can only do as much as our revenue allows us to do. We have a lot of good projects in front of us, but they're going to be contingent upon the revenue streams that are approved through the legislature, through our partners, city, county, and agencies. However, during the FY24 budget process, we're going to keep in mind the priorities as set by this board. And those priorities will be addressed financially first. So we have a lot to look forward to, but just wanted to remind the board that it's all contingent upon our availability to afford all of these projects. I think, yes, we do have a reserve, a healthy reserve right now, and we don't want to pick it apart where we get back in the place we were financially. We want to remain wholesome and healthy in the provision of excellence in public transit. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. We just have to watch the money.
Ms. Cutter, one thing I wanted to mention, because I think the board will be interested in, I don't know that we've reported on it in detail much up until this date. We mentioned it briefly, but in that grants sector that you're showing up there, we do have a new funding source this year, and that is the Georgia Transit Trust Fund allocation formula that we worked very closely with GDOT to accomplish. You'll recall those are funds that are sourced through ride-hail fee collection in the state, and there has never been an allocation formula to make those available broadly through the state. They've largely stayed, almost entirely stayed in the Atlanta region, and just been directed there just uniformly. So we started working with the Georgia Department of Transportation about 8 months ago, and they advocated for an allocation formula that benefits all transit systems in the state, but also very much benefits CAT. So we're actually in the application process right now. You do have to apply to draw down your allocation. We're in the process, so that will be a new funding source for us. And then there was also some limited revenue, but nonetheless revenue that is recurring, but we had not drawn it down for several years. That's called the FBP Ferry Boat Program. It's actually through Federal Highway, interestingly enough, and it's a transfer of funds. It occurs through Georgia DOT. And when we found out that there were funds there that we had not drawn down for the last several years, Ms. Cutter and I, we're never going to leave a dime anywhere. We got right on that, and so those funds are coming into us as well right now. So just wanted to be sure we mentioned those.
I wasn't going to ask a question, but can you go back to that slide again? When I looked at that percentage of grants, my question is that sustainable or it could change? It looks good.
That representation is sustainable. Those are pretty much formula grant dollars that we get every year to support public transit operations. So that is sustainable. However, we are looking for more, particularly on We are very fortunate with that. But everything we are trying to do on the operations side, we will continue to pursue right to further assist.
But it looks good.
Our expense, that pretty much doesn't change with the major expenditure categories. Reflect investment in our human resources through salaries and wages, and of course, benefits. Our cash receipts for the month are itemized. The ending cash balance at the end of January was $9,533,304. Just an overview of the actual versus our budget. We look pretty good right now. No major overruns at all. Our operating reserves, 105% of our goal, at $7,916,548, used for the purposes below if needed. Only if needed and in case of emergency. Our action items in which the board addressed today. Recruitment is still going very well with assistance from the Department of Labor and of course our Human Resources Department. Onboarding for the month of January, 6 positions in the division as presented in the table. Employee exits, 5 also presented in the table. Our FY24 budget, we are in the midst of it. We've had our Munis system module upgrade implemented. We'll be doing some testing or training this Friday for employees that will be entering data. We will be meeting with department managers just to ensure we capture all of the needs. After that, of course, the needs will be prioritized and we will be bringing back a balanced budget for the board's approval. Prior to that, we will be presenting a workshop just outlining the various different components of the FY24 with the board, and then bringing back board feedback and incorporating that feedback into the budget document. And I do thank you. And I wanted to say, staff really appreciates the support of the board. We appreciate your questions. It helps to guide us and only make us better. And as we talked about earlier this year, it's not staff, just staff, and it's not board and just board. It's staff and board, and that's what brings excellence in public transportation. And we do thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cutter. And I want to say that for us to be the best transit agency in the world, it's a compliment for you to be one of the very best CFOs we can have. And I thank you for all the hard work you and your team do for keeping us straight. Oh, yeah.
Thank you for protecting the money. Protect it.
Chairman,
Yes, Dr. Roberts.
I just want to make a comment. Director Stone earlier on talked about how well we cover the items on the consent agenda when we in our meetings prior to this meeting. But I wanted to comment as far as the number of trees that we're killing. I'm just thinking that since we get it in such in-depth, do we have to have it attached to the, I mean, this is a lot of paper. So, I think we get it electronically and we get it, you know, we get to see it and talk about it. I'm just making a suggestion that maybe perhaps we want to consider the amount of paperwork that you guys are producing for us.
I think that's an excellent suggestion and really fits in much more with a Grow Green thought process, right? So appreciate that, Dr. Robinson, and we will make that change.
I'd like to thank everybody, all staff for your reports today. And at this time, we would like to go into an executive session for the discussion and deliberation of personal matters. This time, I'd like to get a first and a second. Thank you. We're going.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, we're gonna get 5 minutes.
Okay, all right. Well, Chairman, can I go ahead and make the vote?
We gotta vote.
Do the okay. Director Emerson, not present for the vote. Director Odell,
Yes.
present for the vote. Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Lockett,
Yes.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
and Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Okay, Chairman, motion passed to enter into executive session with a 5-minute break.
All right, thank you. I welcome everyone back to our board meeting on February 28th, 2023. I'd like to say that there were no votes or actions taken while we was in executive session. This time, we don't have any old or new business. I'd like to adjourn this meeting at this time. Thank you.